and
There you go.
got about half an hour if that's okay, man. Just because I got to get a training session in at 6:30, but I'm yours for a solid 30.
No, that's no big deal, man. That's no big deal. We're going,
Okay.
and
Cool.
yeah, time frame. There is no rules or time frame on this thing. It goes as long. It usually stays about an hour, but it goes as long as we want it to, or as short as we want it to.
Cool. Awesome. Good stuff.
So I guess I found your stuff because I follow BJJ Cop and Ari K and them at the Invictus stuff,
Yes.
and I've had both of them on my podcast. They're just, I like what they do. They're awesome. And then I saw you there, and the jiu-jitsu family is like, I kind of dig it. It's like this little clique of people that once you do it, you're kind of in no matter where you are in the world.
100%. Yeah, it's cool in that way. It's definitely even less than 1 degree of separation. You could go anywhere in the world. I mean, I've been to Brazil, Mexico. I've been, through countless other countries around the world, and you always have that intrinsic connection with people in the martial arts, not just jiu-jitsu, but also in boxing and Muay Thai and mixed martial arts. And so it's nice to have that kind of sense of community from a global sense, and to me, it's such a gift. I've met, best friends who have turned into family. I've gotten job opportunities through jiu-jitsu. I've gotten to work with an extraordinary cast of people like, the Invictus Leo crew, the Austin PD, that I was able to connect with those guys through, and really just come and interact with people that otherwise you wouldn't have any other experience or opportunity to come face to face with. So it's really cool. And it's a great community in the sense that you literally can train with your heroes of jiu-jitsu on a regular basis. You could train with the who's who of elite world champions on any given day at any academy in the world. And, it's kind of socially accepted to do that. That'd be like asking Michael Jordan to play a one-on-one match of horse. It just would never happen. Whereas in jiu-jitsu, that barrier of entry is kind of always open. There's always those opportunities. And I think that's one of the coolest parts about it, just from logging countless hours of sweat and blood equity on the mats, it kind of hammers out the ego in those participants. It enables them to be more humble, approachable, less ego-minded. And because of that, I've made some of the best friends in the entire world through the art of jiu-jitsu specifically. So to me, it's a blessing. It's one of the most important things in my life. And, it enabled me to get the job, that enabled me to meet my wife, and enabled me to, travel around the world, compete, and really kind of create a lifestyle that, is based on passion and the fusion of passion meets profession, which is amazing. So I am a huge ambassador for jiu-jitsu, and it's something that you should definitely get into. And I highly encourage you, hopefully after this 30-minute conversation, to take your first steps towards getting on the mats and getting some jiu-jitsu mat therapy in as soon as possible.
Well, I've done probably, I think, 3 classes before. Cool. And I just started CrossFit whenever I done it. Like I was in it for like probably about five months or so.
Okay.
And I made some friends there. It was in like a tougher time in my life. So yes. I went there, made some friends. I was like, man, I've got some good friends. I'm like, things are moving in a positive direction and I'm having a good time. And then I did those classes and I got this close to quitting because I heard the guys talking about going to a competition and I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to train and go to a competition. Yeah. I don't care how good I am. Like I love to compete. I love to test my skill at whatever level I'm at that highest level. So like, I love to put it on show and see what I can do.
100%.
And so that was, I almost did it, but if I hadn't had made those friends, I probably would have joined right away. So it was just circumstance of time. But I did enjoy it. I think it's fantastic. And the crazy thing is what you said, you can train with the superstars and the ego is gone. So like, there's no way you could just go pick up a game with Michael. Like you couldn't just walk into a facility and play with Michael Jordan. That doesn't happen. Right?
No, definitely not.
But so do
No,
you think it really is the humbling aspect of like getting beat, or is it just a different mindset of wanting to pay it forward to the people below you, like, and sharing your knowledge with them?
yeah, I think it's probably a combination of the two. Through the hardships and adversities of any sort of difficult sport or endeavor, whether it be jujitsu, CrossFit, boxing, Muay Thai, but more specifically the combat sports. There is this purification process that takes place where ego, uh, false facade, pseudo tough guy, all of those kind of unfortunate plaguing stigmas in society get removed based on the fact that there's nowhere to hide. You can't hide underneath a squat rack. You can't hide, on the mats. And you certainly can't hide when you're in competition and on a televised format, or, you have people in the stands watching you. It's the most pure glimpse into another human being's soul, I think, is to compete in some semblance of a combat one-on-one sport. And based on the nature of kind of the bitter pitfall of defeat, and the joyous glory of victory, and the roller coaster of emotions that you experience as a jiu-jitsu athlete, I think it just really puts things into perspective, and you appreciate things more. You have a much more perceptive reality of really what's important. And with that, you learn to check your ego at the door and really just become someone who's accepting and tolerant and open-minded towards people of all walks of life. And to me, that's one of the most important things, is that you walk into a jiu-jitsu academy and you have doctors and lawyers and police officers, firefighters, college students, people that are, laborers or construction workers. You have a full gambit of different fields, trades, areas of expertise, and ultimately backgrounds. And so by nature of just immersing yourself in a very diverse environment day in and day out, you just really start to appreciate human beings and get to know people, not for what they do or how much they make, but for the genuine character and content of their soul, and who they are as people and how they treat others. And, you see that on the mats. You slap hands and you get into a role with someone and you put them in a compromised position where, you implement some sort of, strangle or submission, and you literally get to test their fighting resolve. You get to test their spirit, their fortitude, mentally and physically, and their will to battle through adversity. So in my opinion, you really get to glimpse into people's character. And unlike any other sport, it enables you to just kind of cut past all the BS and really get to know people on a very intimate, personal level. And with that being said, it just naturally makes you humble. You naturally want to help those around you. You naturally want to, if there's a new guy in class who's training for the first time, you empathize and you remember what it was like on your first day as a white belt and how foreign this thing known as jiu-jitsu was to you. And so you really want to take those people under your wing. And now I'm really kind of shifting focus as a black belt to start teaching more and to start helping those in the path of their jiu-jitsu journey, so that, I can be the mentor, I could be the professor, I could be the guiding light, to help change lives, in a positive way. And with everything going on and the uncertainty and the trials and tribulations of this COVID pandemic, a lot of people need that. They need that sense of purpose. No one's talking about the mental health epidemic, but it's a huge plaguing issue globally, is people not having a sense of purpose, people being trapped inside, people not being able to go to and from the office like they used to, or go to and from the gym like they used to. And so I really encourage people to get into jiu-jitsu and find some martial art. It doesn't have to be jiu-jitsu, but some martial art that kind of facilitates that sense of purpose and gives you a reason to wake up in the morning. And so jiu-jitsu has been that huge positive beacon of opportunity for me. And I love sharing it with other people and helping them see that same light.
Well, how did you get into it? How did you get into jiu-jitsu? This, like, following your thing, you do. I mean, I see you going all over the place. Like, it's awesome. Like,
yeah.
And obviously just going back and forth and talking to you, you're flying to Miami, to New York. You just been in Austin. You're doing all these camp. You did one with Mitch Aguilar, I think, with the Adopt-A-Cop.
Yes,
You're all over the
exactly.
place with this passion. Then you also do real estate stuff. And I don't know what
Yes.
else you do, but like, how did you get into jujitsu and start that road into like building this hobby into something where you're going to be flying all over the country?
Yeah, so essentially, I got into jujitsu. I was playing rugby in Argentina in Buenos Aires, and I got a pretty serious neck injury. And based on that neck injury, I can no longer compete in rugby anymore. By proxy of that, I had to find some physical sports ambition that would be a good replacement for not being able to play rugby anymore. I started coaching rugby, and that fulfilled me. But I still wanted to be an active competitor, an active athlete. So I walked into a place called All Rules MMA in Wilmington, North Carolina. And for about an hour, hour and a half, proceeded to get absolutely ragdolled by two girls who were blue belts at the time. And demoralizingly so, just beat me into to a pulp and submission for about an hour and a half straight. Me being 100 pounds heavier than both these women, I realized the technical benefits and superiority that jujitsu can give to another person to defeat a much larger opponent. And I realized the efficiency and effectiveness of jujitsu as a martial art, both from a fighting standpoint as well as a self-defense standpoint. And that was kind of my sticky point. I was like, man, if people who are 100 pounds less and lighter than me can beat the crap out of me in such a brutal fashion, then there's something to be said for this. And it was on that day where that took place that I was instantly hooked. I knew it was something I had to learn. I knew it was something I had to pursue. And I decided to dedicate my time, my focus, and ultimately my life towards the pursuit of receiving a jiu-jitsu black belt. And that was about a 10-year journey, arduous one at that, of basic blood and sweat equity on a regular basis, battling through injuries, competing overseas, competing in the United States, but loving every moment of it. The losses, the victories, the feelings of uncertainty, the feelings of overcoming adversity and challenge, and really just the opportunity to grow, self-esteem, confidence, self-respect, and in turn empower others with those same pillars of fortitude and those same pillars of, finding purpose through the martial arts. And so now that's kind of my focus is to help others see the path that is jujitsu as a holistic way to improve all areas of their life.
Well, what I love about what you just said was you got a neck injury playing rugby, right? I guess
Yes.
was this on professional level that you were doing that?
Yeah, this was like a semi-pro level down in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and was playing there very competitively and tackled someone at a kickoff and almost broke my neck. And long story short, kind of had an identity death of sorts. I lost the ability to play rugby. I felt as though I no longer had an identity as an athlete, and kind of in a downtrodden, depressed state. I needed something to fulfill that void with. And it was at that point I transitioned into, jujitsu and kind of by happenstance stumbled upon a group of guys at my local college where I went to school, University of North Carolina, Wilmington, who would meet on like Tuesdays and Thursdays up in the gym. We had some crash pads and some like basic gymnastics mats. And we basically just try to strangle each other, not really knowing what we were doing, try to emulate our favorite UFC matchups and use the rudimentary techniques and very, very archaic grappling knowledge that we had to, just compete and battle one another on a regular basis. From that point on, I needed some formalized instruction because I knew absolutely nothing about grappling. And it wasn't until I went to an actual academy and started training with a high-level purple belt at the time where the doors of jiu-jitsu truly opened up for me. And I have Jonathan, who's got a guy from Alliance Wilmington to thank for that, or Alliance, I think it's Wilmington BJJ now, but Alliance is their main, lineage. But yeah, it wasn't until then where I really kind of opened the doors of perception and the doors of seeing jujitsu and the path that it could potentially take me on. And it's been an awesome, wild ride. You know, got to go to Rio de Janeiro and spend a month down there, got to train with Roger Gracie, got to train with the Alliance LeBlanc crew and some world-renowned champions of the highest caliber down there. And, you know, pick up some Portuguese as a white belt. And that was kind of like the real catalyst towards, I was like, all right, I've learned from the Orient. I've gone to the source. I've gone to Brazil. I've absorbed the culture. Now I need to absorb the language and the jiu-jitsu. And spending a month there, just living in that Carioca, Rio de Janeiro lifestyle was amazing. It was an empowering, transcendent chapter in my life. And from there, I was hooked. I was like, all right, this is it. You know, this is my life's purpose. I've tried to pursue other professional paths or pursuits, and for some reason it always brings me back to jiu-jitsu. So I think it's always been that rock solid solace in my life. It's been something that has helped me through the darkest of times, and it's been something that, you know, I always look forward to, because even on the days where I'm beat up, I'm sleep deprived, I'm dehydrated, I'm sore, I'm tired as hell, it's gray sky and snowing outside in 30-degree New York City, I still find a way to muster the motivation to get on the train to then from my commute to jiu-jitsu in New York is insane. You know, if I'm not training in New York City at Renzo Gracie Academy, you know, I train, my main academy is under Alexander Soka, is a 6th-degree black belt under Carlos Machado and Carlos Gracie Jr. lineage. So has done everything there is to do in the sport of jiu-jitsu, you know, multiple-time ADCC champion, multiple-time world champion. And I just love, you know, him as a human being, as a friend, as a professor, and all the people at the academy. And that's my home base in New York. And so I'll travel sometimes 2 hours to get there. You know, I usually leave Long Island City. I jump on the 7 train. From the 7 train, I take that to Woodside. I jump on the Long Island Railroad to Bayside. Then I walk from Bayside train station about a mile to my car. I get in my car, sometimes in like freaking foot of snow, and then drive another 45 minutes to the academy. And some days with traffic, with snow, inclement weather, you know, it may take me 2.5 hours, but it's so worth it. Once I get there, it's an instant sigh of relief. I could have the worst day leading up into that point, and then the moment I step on the mats, it's like all those worries and woes disappear. And it forces you to be in that ultimate present state where you can't think about the past. You can't be anxious about the future. You're solely locked into the enjoyment of the present moment. And I think that's so important, to find things that tune you in, focus your energies and efforts towards just the present state. When we think about the past too much, we get depressed. When we think about the future too much, we get anxious, right? But when you plug into the present, you know, that's really where you get into that flow state. And that's, I think, where you really feel truly alive and truly grateful for the finite experience that is life on this finite thing called, you know, Earth, which is a short, small little microcosm in the grand scheme of time. And if you're not enjoying it, then you're not really seeing the gift that life truly is. Jiu-jitsu always enables me to see the gift that life truly is. Whether I'm being strangled and losing consciousness and submitting to a more formidable training partner, or I'm on top and strangling someone else and showing them that, you know, sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail. Regardless, it's still the same outcome, and you still emerge from the experience better. You know, a lot of times the best lessons come from the losses, not necessarily from the victories. And that's definitely one thing that jiu-jitsu as a whole has taught me as a human being, as a compassionate, you know, philanthropist, and as an athlete, for sure. So yeah, I mean, I love it. I think it's for everyone, you know, despite your physical, mental, emotional limitations. I think there's a way to train jiu-jitsu for everyone. And that to me is the true beauty of it. It's a really inclusive, open-minded community.
What's the craziest thing you just said, like that you know, you learn a lot more from your losses than you do when you got that neck injury. A lot of people that I run across and that you talk to, and it's, you know, I've had a small injury where I broke my foot, right? And I just modified everything and just kept going, like worked out. I kept doing my competitive stuff. I just had to wait for it to heal right. And I had to do that really good. Like I focused on being good at letting my leg heal, but also still good at training and not losing ground. So like your mindset when you got hurt wasn't, oh man, my identity's gone. And also like, I have nothing to do. It is, I need to find something else, like pursue
100%.
something else. So that loss right there, you had two choices. You could be depressed, go off, do a desk job type of thing, and just live your life without doing any more sports or hobbies and just
Yep.
be super careful about that neck.
Exactly.
Or you could go find something where they still strangle you and rag on your neck, but it doesn't hurt it the same way. And you went and did
Exactly.
it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. There was definitely that fear. There was a lot of overcoming of adversity and fear, and I don't talk about it, and I should maybe more because I think there's a lot of lesson and value in that. But I was super nervous about injuring my neck. I was super nervous about severing my spinal cord. I was super nervous about, potentially being paralyzed from getting put in a choke and having the severity of the neck injury I sustained in rugby. That was a fear. That was an ongoing fear. And so every day I got on the mats, every day I conquered that fear. I gained a little bit more strength. I gained a little bit more self-confidence. I got to the point where eventually I didn't even think about my neck. I just fully immersed myself into the moment and into the experience. And I think that was a huge relief in and of itself, just the ability to not think of what I once was as a rugby player, not to think of my ambitions and the dreams that got curtailed because of this injury, but to chart out new dreams, to set new objectives, to set new goals. And just because one thing doesn't work out for you doesn't mean it should be the end of your life. And it should be your just end all be all. All right, now this didn't work, so I'm just going to throw the cards on the table and I'm just going to ride it out and be miserable for the rest of my life. No, you constantly have to reinvent yourself. It's like the person who lost their job during COVID. Well, maybe it was a silver lining. Maybe it was a blessing in disguise. Maybe this career field and this job that you were miserable at wasn't for you. Now it's time to study, evolve, grow, reinvent yourself, and find yourself in a career field or a sport or ambition that is more tailor-made for your personality or skill sets or physical attributes, right? And so I think a lot of those adversities teach the greatest lessons. I know this whole COVID thing has definitely taught me a lot. For all of us, who has been an extremely tough 2020. But if anything, there was a lot of silver linings of it, and I think just that mentality alone, that positive mentality to overcome extreme adversity in the most uncomfortable, non-optimal positions possible, and still maintain a winning mindset, still maintain a glimpse and gleam of hope that if I just endure this pressure, if I just endure this submission and fight a little bit longer, I'll eventually escape, or I'll eventually see the light at the end of the tunnel, or I'll eventually emerge triumphant or defeated. But either way, I'll emerge a better, stronger, more fortuitous version of myself. And I think that at the end of the day is what we're ultimately striving for. And if you're doing things that don't expose that, if they don't expose your weaknesses, if they don't cause, you to have those failures or those hardships, then you're never really growing. The ship isn't made to stay in its safe harbor. It's made to drop the mainsail and leave the confines and comforts of that safe harbor so that you can grow and you can test yourself against the incoming tide and the raging seas, and chart a course that's uniquely yours, so that when you look back on your life as you're taking those last dying breaths, you have something that you can be proud of, and you can leave a legacy for those to follow in your footsteps.
Yeah. And I mean, if that's one thing that people get out of this 30-minute conversation, just hearing you say that, it's not to say that like you're some super athlete that just recovered from that thing. It's like you
No,
had
no.
fears just like they do.
Yeah,
You had
absolutely.
just the same fears as somebody who does any injury, like pulls a hamstring or whatever. They have that same fear of doing it, but you overcame that fear over time.
100%, 100%. And listen, I was never a fully confident athlete. I was never someone who, I think, not really having a father figure around for most of my teenage years, kind of really stagnated my belief in myself and my respect for myself. And I just always felt as though I wasn't valued, or I wasn't worthy of love or appreciation or respect. And really, it wasn't until jujitsu, it wasn't until I took the harder path in life where I really started to develop that self-esteem, that self-respect, that confidence, that all right, if I put my mind to it and I work on a regular basis through daily diligent discipline, I can achieve great things. And jiu-jitsu taught me that more than any other life lesson, more than any other overpriced college education that I could have ever received. I think I've learned more from jiu-jitsu than anything else, man, to be honest. It's given me my friends, my family. It's given me a way of life. It's given me the ability to make money and pursue my passion and turn it into a profession. And to me, I'm extremely grateful and blessed. And I think my driving force, my goal is to spread that to as many people as possible, you know, while I still have time on this earth, and to empower those who may be depressed, who may have lost their sense of purpose, and give them that newfound mission statement again through jiu-jitsu.
Right on, man. Well, we're about to 30 minutes right now. Do you have anything you want to let people know that you've got going on where they can sign up for some of your classes, jiu-jitsu gyms, your real estate stuff, whatever? Go ahead and give it a plug.
Yeah, so absolutely. On Instagram, you can follow me at keeping it real estate _ jiu-jitsu. That's my main mode of social media that I utilize. I also have Facebook, first and last name, Gareth Hoernel. LinkedIn, you can find me if you want to connect on anything in the real estate or title insurance space. I also do personal one-on-one training, strength and conditioning, weight loss, muscle building, athletic performance. I also teach boxing, Muay Thai, as well as jiu-jitsu and MMA, and would love to connect. You know, I appreciate the opportunity tremendously, Aaron. It was an awesome, very casual and easy conversation, very free flowing, and I love that. And you know, thank you for the opportunity.
Hey, man, thanks for coming on. I'm glad we can make this work out.
100%. Let's do it again soon, man. I'd love to come back on.
Awesome, because I could have talked to you for like an hour and a half, I feel like, man. We just got started, so that's awesome. I might take you up on that.
Thanks, brother. Would
right,
love that, man. All right, so appreciate you, Aaron. Thank you very much, and thank you for everyone for tuning in, all right?
All right, man. See you.